What is up, guys? Team Blind MST here to talk about something that we feel needs to be addressed. And
people are making a big deal about it, and
it's a big deal. But
it is a big deal, but we're hoping that this video shows you guys that this shit ain't E-Dragons. Like, it can be addressed. Like, it's bullshit. It's ruining things, but it can be addressed.
And here they are, one hand
and two hand. Like,
these fucking assholes.
Brian, how do you feel about these? How do you feel about these two cards in the meta?
I hate them. I think they ruined the game. Like when the OCG got Primal Origins, artifacts and HATrix became a big thing, and going into Primal Origins and the TCG, we all kind of expected them to be a big thing. But Dragons of Legend kind of really fucked up the format and fucked up the meta because of all the stupid shit that came out with it.
Like the hands, like wiretapped,
the hands,
Soul Charge, which is lying around here somewhere.
The hands with HATrix and artifacts just makes it for three really, really annoying and really good engines all in their own, all coming together in one, and I fucking hate it. As a Fire Fist player, these hands seldom killed my deck, which I'm not that big of. I don't hate that much because now not every asshole's running it, but at the same time, they're a pain in the ass to get over.
Right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about how through the little bit of experience we've had, because I mean these still haven't like blown like. I mean, you play them at locals. There hasn't really been a huge regional since this deck has been mainstream.
In our area, at least.
At least in our area. So from playing online, from looking up like how the cards work, from just dissecting it, we found a ton of cards that can help you beat this deck. Some of them are obviously not as good as others, but you know, everybody doesn't have access to some like $40 cards like Skull Meister. So we're just going to do our best to give a pretty even spread. Some things might be archetype specific, but you guys should get the general idea still. And but the majority of the video will be focused on how to beat these two bullshit cards right here. So starting off, I feel the most obvious choice is just not to let them hit the graveyard. So the good old-fashioned Fissure Macrocosmos puts in work against these two. I mean, I don't think you guys...
You can put Soul Drain in there too.
Right.
Soul Drain.
Soul Drain. This is the good old standard. Most people for a long period of time are running these three cards in their side deck anyways. So, I mean, it's not that ridiculous. Obviously, if they don't hit the graveyard, their effects don't go off. Obviously, if they're Soul Drain, their effects don't go off. I mean, it's pretty simple. Going along those lines, I don't know. I mean, Brian, I'm sure you have also been just completely sacked by somebody summoning Fire Hand in attack mode, crashing into your monster, special summoning the Ice Hand, crashing into your monster, like just repeatedly crashing them. Like, am I right?
I played a HATrix hands deck before at Gamer's Gauntlet, and I did the Horse Prince combo for +3 on my first turn, and he just fucking... I had the +3, I had a few back row, and I had Rooster and Horse Prince chilling on the field, and he literally just summoned a Fire Hand and went through my whole back row and my whole monster lineup, and I was like, well, that fucking sucked. But it wasn't that bad because that combo was kind of just half bullshit anyway, but it was really just kind of annoying that like, one card could generate that much advantage and kill my whole, like, plusage. I'm like, what the fuck?
Right. So obviously these three, going along those lines, like, you can stop their... So, to stop that D-Prison...
Yeah, D-Prison's really good right now.
I feel like D-Prison's better than... Mirror Force again.
D-Prison's really good just because of the hands, if nothing else.
Yeah, so D-Prison still puts in work. So 4 cards, fairly common, puts in work against the hands. If nothing else, most people should have access to these. The other thing you can do is you can stop their effects from activating once they hit the grave. You can't DD Crow them, no matter what anybody tells you. Like, you just can't DD Crow them. They don't have to stay in the grave for their effects to activate. But however, you can use this card, Skull Meister.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone shut up in price. Thankfully, Brian saw this ahead of time and gave at least me the heads up. He gave us all the heads up, but no one else listened. I remembered this card from a long time ago when I was picking up this card, which is another great side against the hands. And so as soon as I saw him post that picture, I was like, damn, he's right. I need to buy myself a playset. Thank God, because... How long was it after you told us?
Like 2 days, probably.
Like, yeah, 2 days after Brian tells us, the shit shoots up to, like... I saw some for $50. I don't believe they actually sold for $50. I would say $30.
I was seeing them for $35 and up.
Yeah, so there's that. And then another lesser-known card that actually also works pretty well is Chivalry. It's a counter trap again. What you do is you activate it during the battle phase when the effect of an opponent's effect monster activates, and you negate the activation of and destroy that card. So it works on the hands because it happens in the battle phase. It's counter trap. It ends chains. I mean, it can still be wiretapped, obviously, but it's I know this is an ulti, but it comes in common. It's a really cheap card. So if you absolutely have no access to anything else, chivalry is a good response. You can, since, I mean, the hands are an issue, but, I mean, artifacts are also kind of an issue. It helps to have things that combat both. Things like Banisher the Radiance to go along with that nothing hitting the grave kind of thing, and then also they can...
Skull Meister does hit both, by the way.
Yeah, Skull Meister also hits both. And so does Debunk if you MST them. But this is just a monster up that can stop a lot of their plays. Fossil Dyna also puts in work. I mean, yeah, Fossil Dyna can be popped, but it ends the loop. Like, if you don't have any spell or trap cards or whatever, you destroy, or none left, you destroy an ice hand, they won't go into it. They can't moral attack you. They can't do a lot of things. So this might not be the best option, but it is a option. Another option kind of along this lines that is more specifically for stopping the artifacts is Allied Justice Quarantine. It's basically a Fossil Dyna, but it's only for light monsters. And it's nice because it's 1700, so it's not like the hands beat over Fossil Dyna. Yeah. They just beat over Fossil Dyna. That's why Fossil Dyna is not. I don't know. I might not side it anymore. That used to be one of my favorite side deck cards. So this is just another option against the artifacts, and essentially serves the same purpose as Fossil Dyna. Other cards like that are obviously Solemn Warning. If you warning...
No, you can't warning the fucking hands.
If you warning the effect in the grave...
Oh, that works then, yeah.
It stops them from going through. You can't warning them when they're summoned, or their effects will still go off. But, like, if they hit the grave and you don't want them to loop through, or for whatever... Or, if, like, so let's say you're going for game, and, yeah, they pop one of your bag, you attack an ice hand, they pop it back, or whatever. If you don't want that fire hand to hit the board, you can Solemn Warning one of the hands that are already in the grave. Like, yes, they will pop a card, but...
They still pop a card? Do they? I don't think so.
Actually, you know what? You're right. They wouldn't even pop a card. You're right. They don't pop a card. Solemn Warning, you just gotta wait for it to hit the grave, though. And then, Emptiness, obviously it'll stop the loop. Just shit that generically stops special summoning.
Did you not put in Bottomless for the Fire Hand?
You could Bottomless the Fire Hand, but... I mean, they normally don't normal summon it.
They will when they go to fucking sack you. Like,
this is true.
If they're sick of you, like, some good players will just set them, but other players will just say, I'm gonna fuck up that field anyway.
Right. Other things, the two older cards that used to put in work against Gladbeast could once again be relevant. Mirror of Oaths and Deck Lockdown. Deck Lockdown, no cards can be searched or special summoned from the deck, so it actually stops their mellow plays from going off. They can't Theosophy and Immoral Talk. The hands can't special summon anything, so that is a potential. It only lasts 3 turns as a continuous spell, but you know that sometimes all you need is 3 turns. And then Mirror of Oaths. When your opponent special summons a card from the deck, you actually destroy it and draw a card. And I know, like, obviously, like, okay, so they special summon one of the hands, you're going to destroy the hand, it's going to go off. But if they special summon an ice hand and this is your only set card, you activate it, they're going to lose the ice hand. They won't get to special summon because they're not going to get to destroy something. You'll draw a card. So it might be viable. Another way to get over the hands is just to take them. Mind Control and Creature Swap. Especially if you run the hands. Actually, I don't know how that works. I haven't looked into that. I've actually been kind of curious of if I steal your hand and attack and, like, kill it, if I can summon my hands.
No, it says...
Don't think so, because it's your graveyard.
The fire hand says it has to be in your possession. And when this card in your possession is destroyed by your opponent's card, either by battle or card effect, and sent to your graveyard.
Right, your graveyard. Okay.
Yeah.
Problem solved. Can't do it. Anyways, you can still creature swap them, mind control them, overlay with them.
The important thing, though, is that if you do mind control them or creature swap them, even your opponent, if you crash them, still your opponent can't even get the effect off.
That's true. And also, that is one way to stop the hands. If 2 hands crash, they can make each other miss timing. Like, they do make each other miss timing. So we'll get more into the miss timing thing, because that's another way to stop them.
The turn player's one doesn't miss timing.
Right, because the turn player stacks the chain.
Right.
Right. Okay. Another option is just to outright banish them. No mana crossout. This is actually sort of relevant now because you can hit face down gear armors. I mean, it was always relevant, but now you can also hit hands. Once Shadal's come out, it'll be a million times more relevant. So everyone pick up your old school Super Pharaoh Servant playsets of them. And then to a lesser extent, Karma Cut. You discard a card, banish a card in the field. Kind of does the same thing. It's an outs to a lot of things, but a lot of decks can't afford to pay the discarding a card cost. But once again, this is a very accessible card, and it does serve as a good out to them. And then for the artifacts, I've been thinking about this card. It kind of sucks because they can chain to it, but if you hit like any of the holes or a bottomless, well, obviously any of the holes, or like a Mirror Force or a wiretapped or something, it banishes all of them. So I mean, it could be useful. It could be useful. No Man of Extermination. What else? Just some examples of just monsters that have their effects is obviously Shaman. Any monster that stops effects from activating the grave, stops the hands, absolutely dumps on them. Aaron, I feel, obviously not a lot of decks can run Aaron. She is a level 4. You can just normal summon her. So you could actually splash her in a lot of decks, but she kind of puts in work against things like armor and hand. I actually thought about siding her at 2 in just random decks because of the shuffling back the armor, shuffling back the hands. It's kind of viable, but and then worst case scenario, I mean, I'll just overlay with her. And then things like Ryko. Okay, I'm thinking of these 2 cards specifically because I was just looking at my Lightsworn deck, but Ryko, if he's flipped and you pop them, their effects don't go off because they miss the timing, because the last thing that happens is Ryko mills, so they actually don't get their special summon off. And that's a big thing with the hands. They're actually fairly easy to make miss timing, so they have to be the last thing to happen in the chain. Their destruction has to be the last thing to happen in the chain for them to get to special summon. So if you say, where did my MSTs go? If you have an MST set and a Regeki Break set, right? And you activate MST on their back row, chain Regeki Break. Regeki Break targets Fire Hand. Their Fire Hand gets popped. They can pop your monster. But because MST is the last thing to result, MST will hit their card last. The Fire Hand won't get to special summon the Ice Hand. It completely misses timing. So if you can somehow destroy one of them in a chain and make sure that their effect is not the last thing in the chain to go off, they will not get to special summon. And that could be big because that could also stop them from looping through you. As for being the artifacts in general, I think this is a fairly general consensus amongst me and my friends that these 3 cards, well, maybe not so much Twister, but
not Twister at all, actually.
Yeah, really not Twister, but
those 2.
These 2. Brian, how do we beat artifacts?
Blind MST in the end phase, dog.
Right, you blind MST them on their turn. They never see it coming. They always call you bad. Everyone says you're bad. Oh God, you're awful. Really? Well, I just hit your shit that doesn't get to go off now because it's happening on your turn and not my turn. Like, for that reason, Malcat, not the worst card against HATrix Artifact's hands. If they go to attack into you, it's on their turn, you blow up all the back row, like, you blow up everything. What's the worst case scenario? You hit, like, a Theosophy? I mean, they don't get the special summon off, in which case they were going to make a play, and they were probably going to do something that you really didn't like anyways. Haven't done this yet. This might end up being very bad. I don't know. I know they don't get the special summons off when you pop them face down. They might get, but potentially puts in work. But these 2 definitely tried and true, absolutely work against HATrix artifacts.
Or against the artifact part.
Yeah, the artifact part at least, or you hit a hole that would have ate one of your monsters eventually, anyways, or a wiretapped or something else. And then Starlight Road works. They go to double cycle on you. They go to use whatever the red one is that pops 2. Starlight Road could work because Stardust is a wonderful, 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 wonderful counter to everything that deck does. Obviously, if you summon Stardust with Starlight Road,
Starlight Road doesn't really work because it has to be your cards you control. You can't, if they double cycle on you, you can't use Starlight Road. I think the red one has to pop their cards. Yeah, so that one's not a good option. I don't know if the red one has to pop their cards or not. I think it
doesn't have to pop their cards.
But they usually do to get the blue guy off. But I see what you're saying, but it doesn't work on double cyclone.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It wouldn't work on specifically double cyclone. They all run Malcat, though, so Starlight Road could work on Malcat.
There you go.
But anyway, Stardust Dragon is absolutely disgusting against them. It stops Morotalk, it stops the hands, it just stops almost everything they do. Obviously, if you summon it with Starlight Road, it doesn't come back once you tribute it, but if you run a synchro deck that can go into Stardust Dragon, it's really good, because if you take over Fire Hand, okay, Fire Hand's not going to pop Stardust, therefore Ice Hand's not going to come out. They're going to summon Morotalk, you can attack over it too, it's not going to pop you. Like, there's just a lot of things in their deck that Stardust stops, Sparky stops. If you're running synchro decks, HTS Sahemoth, you attack into the hands, you can banish both of them. I mean, obviously, like, yeah, that kind of sucks that you're banishing your monster too, but it stops them from going off. It gets them off the field. And then if you attack over them with Armades, the hand effects don't get to activate. And Armory Arm. If you attack them with an Armory Arm, they do not get the special summon off, because the last thing that happens is them being burnt for the damage from Armory Arm, either 1600 or 1400. So once again, you make them miss timing. Under more extra deck monsters, there is the two fan favorites. These are probably your best options if you can get your hands on them. I know one's super cheap right now. I know the other one is a $20 staple. And it is Abyss Dweller and Evigishki Merrowgeist. For those of you who don't know what this card does, when you destroy a monster by battle, you can detach a material, and instead of going to the graveyard, it gets shuffled back in the deck. Never hits the graveyard. Hands effects don't go off. It also stops battle searchers. Just stuff like that. Anything that's effect activates when it hits the graveyard, you can safely attack over this and it'll stop. And then obviously Abyss Dweller, their effects can't activate in the grave. They don't go off. They don't do anything. But like I said, this one's dirt cheap. This one's $20. Your best two options right now. Other options, Black Ship of Corn. They get sent to the graveyard. They get burnt for 1,000. They don't get to summon. They don't get to pop. 101. It's a sad day if you have to 101 one of the hands that was special summon is now in attack mode, but doesn't leave the field, doesn't go off. Then he's kind of tanky. So, like, let's say I 101 your ice hand, and then you summon, then your fire hand goes off, you target 101, 101 doesn't die, you don't get to special summon off of the fire hand. So that is a way you can stop them. So for that reason, things like Mastroke do work against the hands, because if they don't destroy him, the fire hand doesn't get to summon. Obviously, Lead Yoke. Most decks can't run this, but it's just another example. And then Kagasuchi. For you Bujin players out there,
and me,
and Fire Fist players, and then Master of Blades. They can target it, but you're just going to negate the effect, and then you're going to pop one of their cards. And then for people with rank 3s, Mech Equipped Angineer and Wind Up Zenmains. This one's probably better, just because I feel this is a better card at this point in time, and I feel more people are likely to run it. Yugiohz players, this is a good option for you. And then other XYZ plays that you can make to stop them. Lightning Chidori, obviously if you can run this card, you do run this card, because this card is disgusting, but it gets over the hands. If they're set, they're going on the bottom of the deck. If they're face up, they're going on the top of the deck. And then 104 Masquerade. And the reason I say that 104 Masquerade is viable is because now that that 7th one, rank up card, is out, his C form is actually very viable as a target for that, because when this hits the board, you just get to pop a card. And then if your opponent activates, it has a ridiculous effect. Once per turn during either player's turn, when a monster's effect is activated on your opponent's side of the field, you can detach one material from this card, negate the activation, and you send one random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. Then halve your opponent's life points. So
pretty nutty.
If they have a mandatory effect on the field that you can just like bait into with this, you're gonna shit it down their throat like really, 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 really hard. I mean, obviously, like, that specifically doesn't stop the hands, but Masquerade 104 does. Like, the non-C version does stop the hand. So that's just another option. This came out in Judgment of the Light. It's rare. Dirt cheap. It's probably like 50 cents. You could probably get it for 10 cents if you tried hard enough. Someone would probably give it to you if you found it in their box of cards. And you're like, oh, yo, can I have that? They're like, sure, why not? But yeah. So, that's, for the most part, that's pretty much it. Like I said, this was mostly focused on how to get over the specific hands. There's a lot of just options out there, things to protect your monsters, basically, to get over the fire hand. Like Skill Prisoner works, it's chainable on their turn.
Soul Taker is another card, too.
Soul Taker is another card because when it destroys their monster, the last thing that happens is they gain the life points. So, again, they miss timing. Pretty much any card that destroys a monster and then someone either gains or loses life points, that makes the hands miss timing. Anything that, like, Raikou pops a card and then mills, I don't know too many other examples besides Raikou, but anything that pops a card and then does something will make your opponent's hands miss timing. Brian, do you have any other input to this?
Fuck them hands. Black Ship of Corn for days, man.
Yeah, Black Ship puts in work.
Mist Dweller for days, man.
Mist Dweller also puts in work. I hope you guys found something from this video helpful.
Thumbs up for $4 Skull Meisters. Yay.
Yay.
Firsty.
Being ahead of the curve. Yay. But, yeah, hopefully you guys took something from this. Obviously, you can't run all of these cards, but maybe your archetype has something similar to these cards, and hopefully we gave you some ideas. Thanks.
See you guys.